He'll make up for it. All right, yes. The European Union is reportedly threatening to retaliate against the president's bid for Greenland, considering a, quote, trade bazooka on the U.S.
This as President Trump threatens new tariffs on NATO countries if no deal is made.
Madeleine Rivera is live in West Palm Beach with the latest. Hey, Maddie.
Hi, good morning, guys. Well, this trade bazooka that the EU is reportedly considering using against the U.S. has never been used before. It's considered the nuclear option, and it was designed to protect the EU from foreign pressure. Obviously, the hope is that dialogue will prevail, and the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he spoke with the president yesterday, and he says, in part, we will continue working on this, and I look forward to seeing him in Davos later this week. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke with the president as well, and he says this.
Any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. The use of tariffs against allies is completely wrong, nor is it helpful to frame efforts to strengthen Greenland's security as a justification for economic pressure.
The president, though, still appears unmoved. The president saying on Truth Social, we have subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union for many years by not charging them tariffs. It is time for Denmark to give back. World peace is at stake. China and Russia want Greenland, and there is nothing that Denmark can do about it. The tariffs on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, the UK, Netherlands, and Finland are set to kick in on February 1st. They begin at 10%, but will increase to 25% in June until a deal for the U.S. to buy Greenland is reached. And like Rutte said, the president will be heading to the World Economic Forum in Davos later on this week. He's expected to make a speech on Wednesday. World leaders are going to be using this as an opportunity to hopefully de-escalate the situation. Griff Ainsley and Brian.
All right. Thanks, Maddie. And just a side note, Marco Rubio's son is at Florida, not Gators.
Not Miami.
Yeah, not Miami, but he's a running back there. Maybe they'll win the national championship soon. So in Greenland, CBS did a poll, only 14% of the country are in support of taking Greenland by force. Only 30% approve of buying it. So I think the president's got to make his case to the American people for this. But in terms of rare earth, in terms of location, in terms of building military bases, pathway to the Arctic, nobody disputes the value here. My hope is there's a deal. You know, between Denmark not being able to get rare earth itself, between the people of Greenland, 86,000 who mostly fish, they need us to do it. So couldn't we work out a deal where we take control of the rare earth, we give the people of Greenland their third, and we take half, and we expand our military bases there because Denmark cannot do it, or else they would have done it already. And we have a right, evidently, in a treaty we signed in 1951 to expand our military presence there. And maybe we could start with the Golden Dome. The Golden Dome needs a presence. We need some ground operations to be able to have missile defense there. So I just hope there's a deal that can be done because they work so hard to get that EU deal done, the trade deal done. It's a fantastic deal for both sides. I hate to see it blown up.
Yeah, now he's saying he's going to impose taxes on U.S. goods that are bought from all of these other countries.
And they're going to retaliate on us.
It would be, I mean, if anyone can do it, it could be America that would be able to defend Greenland against Russia. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent talks about how this would be good for defense. Listen.
President Trump strongly believes that we cannot outsource our security because, Kristen, let me tell you what will happen, and it might not be next year, might not be in 5 years, but down the road, this fight for the Arctic is real. We would keep our NATO our NATO guarantees, and if there were an attack on Greenland from Russia, from some other area, we would get dragged in. So better now, peace through strength, make it part of the United States, and there will not be a conflict because the United States right now, we are the hottest country in the world. We are the strongest country in the world. The Europeans project weakness. The U.S. projects strength.
The hottest country in the world headed to Davos, where this is going to be front and center. You know, to your point, Brian, I think you're exactly right. The president needs to explain it, but many are looking at it, folks in the media covering it, saying Trump's off his rocker. Guess what? A lot of previous U.S. presidents have looked at this for the very reason that years ago, World War II, prior to that, we had multiple bases. Now we only have one base, but it's clear that from a national security standpoint, we need more.
And no one's stopping us from building more. And I think we should. I think maybe the president is just pushing the goalpost forward. and willing to stop at the 50. Meanwhile, maybe his goal the whole time was to stop at the 50, but he's pushing it forward in order to maximize the deal. It looks like the NATO countries say they will face escalating tariffs are Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, UK, Netherlands, and Finland. And then the EU has threatened a bazooka against us, meaning they're essentially going to hit us with tariffs on all our goods. And the thing is, the president right now is trying to get the economy in order. He doesn't need anything to trip up anything that would, because it looks like we're about to fire on all cylinders as an economy.
Yeah.
I thought we could focus on India's trade deal and not have to redo EU's trade deal.
The tariffs are worth about $107.7 billion. So it would impose these higher import taxes on a wide range of U.S. goods. And he says it would effectively take place beginning on February 1st, 10% extra for U.S. goods. It really does make a difference. It does make countries panic a little. They're having this emergency meeting now to talk about this because they buy so much from America and their prices will go up.
Well, in February 1st, right? So we've
February
seen
1st. What did I say? Did I say
No,
the
no,
wrong thing?
February 1st.
February 1st.
I'm just pointing out that that's still a few weeks away. That means President Trump is using a playbook tactic that we've seen before where he sets it out there, get them to the table, and then see what comes next.
The art of the deal.
And it goes up to 25% in June if nothing's reached then. Meanwhile,
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.